Okay, School of Tomorrow, folks. So, where we were recently is talking a little bit about how we could use the Greek letter tau to stand for 2 pi, in which case we'd go all the way around the unit circle and come back to 1. We wouldn't have e to the I pi equals -1, we'd have e to the I tau equals 1. Now, I've taken that trigonometry that we've been looking at, where we raise Euler's number to I times something, except in Python we say j. I has been replaced by j because it stands out more. It's easier to pick out with your eye mainly. So when I run this particular program in Codesters now, and I do set tau equal to math 2 pi, 2 times math dot pi. If we run this now, it's going to randomly choose some of the parameters. For example, amplitude and frequency. And it's going to do these turtles sequentially. It's going to do one after the other. And it's picked a random frequency and a random amplitude. And how quickly it gets across the screen is somewhat a function of how far it has to go. There's a standard time clicking forward here, which actually I'm not really in charge of. It looks like, now that I'm thinking about it, that, yeah, I'm using the time variable. I was going to say I hardly don't even need it, but time, what I call time, is actually the x value of the turtle, where it appears, over what position it appears on the plot is what I call time. But then there's also the computer taking its time to run around this loop and so forth. So there's my time, there's the computer's time, and so there you see it wiped itself out because tractor.clear erases everything the turtle has drawn. Not just the turtle goes away, but the entire trajectory that the turtle has left behind goes away. So what this program does, to summarize, is it goes across the screen with a random frequency and amplitude within certain limits that I've defined in the function call. So when I call the function wave, it's just going to pick a frequency, an amplitude, and do its thing. And when it's done, it's going to clear the turtle. I don't pick the pen up here, but let's see, do I need to? No, because it creates the turtle. Let's see, where do I do the pen up. So how do we get out of this loop? It's similar to the garbage collection that we were talking about a little while back, in that I take notice of when a turtle has gone off the screen to the right. So when its x-coordinate is greater than 350, that turtle is ready to be erased. And so that's when we jump out of the loop, we pen up. It's the same tractor that we're using over and over. I call it a turtle, but it could be a tractor looking down on some kind of like lawn or field, and the tractor is like mowing and leaving a trace that way, or planting seeds is another metaphor you could use. Okay, I'm going to stop this one now, which is almost over anyway. It does 10 of those waves, and go to a next version of the project, which you'll kind of recognize in that it's called Turtle Races. It uses our old friend, the interval program. Remember, stage comes with a dot event underline interval, right? So I'm going to take advantage of that function. I'm going to have it fire every 4 seconds. And I'm going to bring the creation of the turtle and all the pen management and everything inside of the wave function. So there's like autonomous access to a turtle every time this runs. It's going to basically dispatch threads. It's going to let this wave program run simultaneously because it has to fire every 4 seconds. So it's going to fire off before the previous turtle is done getting across. So let's see what that looks like. This program, by the way, has no endpoint. In other words, it's up to the person running this program to hit the stop button when they're bored with it. So you see how a second turtle has already commenced. You may also see turtles flashing at the center of the screen because they're being created before I set the position. So just for a second, you'll see a black turtle flash in the center of the screen. Then it gets moved over to its starting point. So see how many turtles have already been created now. When that green one is finished, it will be collected and its entire trajectory will simply disappear. So that green wavy line is going to go away in a minute, or it's supposed to. So far it hasn't. Hey, green wavy line, why are you still there? There, it's gone now. So with so many turtles and with Camtasia recording and so much going on, the fan has come on the computer and it's like, wow, there's a lot to compute here. So this is, again, an example of what we could call multiple workers or threads. And when they finish, you know, they do finally end. They don't run forever. But some of these turtles are so slow and this thing runs so often every 4 seconds that it's getting pretty crowded with random frequency and amplitude. So I'm still going to just let that run. Remember my theory that when I go away, it stops running. I wanted to say that in my last video, which we jumped out of Codesters and started looking at Notebook Viewer, that I've got that already, like immediately upon finishing the video, I had that in my GitHub repository, which we can see here. This is now a GitHub, not locally. I've changed it a slight bit and that I've given it a different file name and moved what used to be the file name, I'm now making the title of this little essay or paper, you could say. And at the bottom, I do have the YouTube that I made last time embedded in the Jupyter Notebook. So this is a best practice, I would say. Make a video about the very notebook you want to share and embed that in the video. However, GitHub by default does not, I don't think there's an override either. You can't get that actual video showing here. But if you cut and paste this to Jupyter Notebook, NB Viewer it's called, if you take the public URL of your GitHub repo and pop that over to NB Viewer, paste that in, then you will at the end find that the YouTube is there and playable. There it is right there. So phi, which some people pronounce phi, and it gets in the way, so tau gets busy supporting 2 pi. So you remember that video if you haven't seen it. It's the one just prior to this one. Now on Facebook, when I shared it, kind of strangely enough, I linked to Jane Fonda. I'm basically saying this is a morning workout. This stuff with the IVM and the quad rays and so on is kind of like Jane Fonda's exercise show. She made you work out, but I'm no Jane Fonda. But it's my segue, and if you'll notice there, it goes then into my blog. There's an identity politics link. Hanoi Jane is discussed. And this is all part of the School of Tomorrow curriculum. Remember, some people coming through here aren't here because of the STEM. They're here because of the humanities. And we want to go back and look at Quaker history and talk about the time between the 2 world wars and what was going on then with the Quakers and so on. Then we've got a link to, we go forward talking about American foreign policy basically in this blog post. How come the Vietnamese became the enemy that way? What happened there? What was that all about? What was the Spanish-American War's role? And, you know, I kind of start getting into it here. And that's because this curriculum, it lets you jump out of the technical stuff and into the history stuff with a click of a mouse. It's pretty easy, right, to just jump around and visit these kinds of historical accounts. So here, Hotel Oregon, this is where the Jane Fonda link actually takes us, and we tour. This is more place-based education, Evergreen Aviation Museum, which is an excellent flight museum. I highly recommend it. It's where we have the the spruce goose and all the rest of it. But it looks like Willamette Week, whatever article they used to have there, they've changed their URLs. It's always a drag when places of record don't keep their URLs the same, but sometimes that's necessary. Let's see what Blackbird spy plane goes to. Maybe we'll go to one of my pictures. Nope, another Willamette Week page not found error. Okay, such is life. We won't worry about that. I can't always fix these links either. Sometimes I just leave them there and we remember that there used to be a link. Okay, so there we go. Back to those turtles. I think those turtles are in the same place. I think that's where they were already. So we haven't really made any progress. On this case, I might recommend firing less frequently, or, it's up to you. This is a kind of thing that I'll share this. Of course, that's only with my classrooms. These aren't public at the moment. But that's the kind of thing you can do in Codesters and I could have a much longer list of colors as another enhancement I might recommend. But for now, I think we're good. And remember, when we get into history like this, especially from between the two world wars, you'll want to remind yourself about the H.G. Wells stuff that I've recommended, where he's in New York and it's between the two wars and he's giving his thoughts about how to prevent the slide into World War II. It's like all the future enemies are there in New York trying to talk their way out of it, how to not have this war that they kind of all see coming. And H.G. Wells is there as a journalist, not as a science fiction writer. But we use his science fiction in Martian math precisely because of his War of the Worlds. And we roll forward into all of the Orson Welles stuff, the story about how Orson Welles scared some people. It's always debated now as to how big a deal that really was, but we do spend time looking at that incident when Orson Welles came on the radio and talked about the Martians invading. That's one of the things we take up as part of the history of Martian math, along with the period between the two wars and the role of Quakers now and then. Right? It's a very specific place-based education the way I implement it. But then I'm suggesting if you're a teacher and you want to use this curriculum, just take my example of how I place-base it and how I make it, talk about things I'm interested in, and feel free to bend it in other directions, right? But do remember, we're in the humanities and ready to talk history, philosophy. Spent a lot of the last night listening to Heidegger stuff on YouTube and so on, trying to catch up on some of that. So the influences here are not 100% what we'd call STEM authors. Remember that. It'll help you follow this curriculum. All right. Talk to you soon.